Alright, welcome to my TED Talk. This is going to be about making Overwatch skill trees. Something I started making by myself way back last summer, but I was lazy getting this video done, and university started, just had no time till about now. If you like what you see, if you like the videos or the ideas, take them, iterate, base something off of them, be my guest. If you want more ideas, I'm going to make more videos, hopefully. If this one gets enough views, if you want to make your own video, go ahead. Just tag me and I'll probably end up watching it. I was going to start this entire slideshow going on about the downfall of Blizzard, how they laid off a bunch of people who didn't deserve it, and PvE being cancelled, and everyone just being mad. But odds are, if you are watching this video, you already know all about it. I'm not going to shill Blizzard games, but Overwatch was such a gigantic part of my life growing up from 2016 when I started to the days Overwatch just unplugged. And I think not just me, a lot of us were really excited for seeing more lore, more gameplay, more modes, more characters, all these things that we just really enjoyed about Overwatch. And one of the things that I was most excited for was a brand new story, new campaign, something that we just aren't going to get anymore. Before I keep going, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. This was the last time I played a long time ago, a little bit after Overwatch 2 came out, but I played a lot of Overwatch 1, as you can probably see, and I probably wasn't the best. I peaked only Masters on my main role, but I have played a lot, and I've probably consumed as much as any hardcore Overwatch fan has since 2016. Don't have to worry about this one. This video / live stream from 2021 got so many people excited about the possibilities of Overwatch 2, including me. This is before we knew about any format changes, any hero changes, any reworks. I'm not going to talk about any of those, but, go to SVB's podcast anyway you like. Lots of people have very strong opinions. One thing that I was excited to see when watching this was the experimentation going on. Seeing maybe the CTF UI, the flag waving, but you got to carry things around maps. You got to see all the different mobs walking around. And one of the things that got me really excited for Overwatch 2 were these skill trees. It seemed that each character would get 3 of them, each of them being a different archetype. The Reinhardt one has 3, the Crusader, Juggernaut, Guardian, and they seem pretty separate in what wanted to happen. In my opinion, though, they're a bit boring. When I see percentages in all these like ARPGs, just breaking down all your upgrades, it just seems such a waste to me. It doesn't seem very exciting, and the breakpoints just don't ever seem to matter. Something you might notice as a regular RPG fan are these upgrade slots on the side. Usually they mean you have to get, or in this case, you have to get 3 upgrades in this tier, the top tier, before you get to upgrade anything in the tier below. So on top of me rotating my versions of these 90 degrees, I took inspiration from a couple of other games that have some upgrade trees, and you're going to see what they look like here. Okay, hear me out, hear me out. I know what this looks like. Holy moly. When this guy born. I know. Stay with me. I'm going to keep the 3 trees. I have a couple of ideas for what upgrade resource. So in other games you might have gold, you might have money. I've got a couple of ideas. I might save them for the end. But I'm going to keep the 3 trees. And hopefully they're all going to be pretty unique in what they do. They've all got different things that you can do if you spec into one or another upgrade path. I'm going to get rid of the having 3 slots per tier, and then you can go to the next one. I'm just going to try and keep it simple. I'm going to take this from BTD6 that you can take 2 paths, and then the last one will be locked out. See here, you've got a 202 ninja. That means he's got 2 upgrades in the top path, none in the middle path, and 2 upgrades in the bottom path. This cross-pathing, I think, is something that provides a lot of depth in BTD6, and hopefully in these skill trees I've got planned. Next, I want to take the structure of the Skylanders upgrade paths, where you move along your upgrades in a line, then you reach this point, and you've got to make a choice. You've got to make a choice of where you're going to take your character, which attack or which ability you're going to specialize in to make your character more powerful. Here, I've got 3 paths all laid out, and this is how it's going to work. You're going to have these 3, 1, 2, 3. And you're going to start with the first upgrade already unlocked. These are going to be your base abilities or your weapons. Now you need to choose which one's going to move down. Here you can see I've chosen the next upgrades in path number 1 and path number 3. And just like in our good friend Bloons Tower Defense 6, our second path will be gone. We won't be able to pick it anymore. So now you can continue upgrading along your path, and once you reach the split, you got to make a choice. You've got to choose a top and bottom of your subpaths. So if you pick one, the other side will be blocked off. So here you're going to continue your way along, and then you've got to, what I'm calling at the end, the ultimate upgrade. And once you pick an ultimate upgrade, you can only have one. The other ultimate upgrade is unavailable. Hopefully that sort of makes sense to any viewers here. Right, I've made trees for all of these characters and a couple more. No real reason other than I think they're probably the most iconic in their roles. I wanted to have one for each role, and these 3 are just so cool. I think there's so much variety available here. Here we go. First, these are the 3 separate trees I had for Anna. You can probably tell that I've also tried to change the color palette. That's something I've done for all the skill trees, a different color palette for each tree. And you would have to excuse the bad art. I made these very quickly, not because I didn't have much time, but because I wanted to get it out of my head and onto my laptop. Here we go. Here's the whole rifle/nano tree for Anna. Don't bother pausing to read the handwriting. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Right. Here are the first 4 upgrades for Anna's upgrade tree. Remember, you start with the first one already, that's the biotic rifle. I've locked nano boost behind the first upgrade and also nerfed it a little bit by not giving it heal. I thought that when you make the charge shot for the next upgrade, it should build when you're just scoped. But I want to make it a bit different to how scoping works as Widowmaker, because in my head they're sort of like opposite characters. The holding a shot down will apply to both scoped and unscoped shots, and it'll probably feel a bit like you're playing Hanzo, because it will shoot the shot when you release the trigger button. The last upgrade is a little bit lazy, I won't lie, but ideally it would change the breakpoints for killing enemies, like go from 4 shots to 3 for a grunt. Here in the split path, we can see that the top path is going to be focusing a lot on the rifle, and the bottom path focusing on nano boost. The top path, it will reduce the time you've got between unscoped shots, and it will make scope shots deal more damage or healing, but slow it down, and also let Anna pierce through teammates and enemies up to 3. But, you know, all of these figures, they could be changed. The bottom split path makes nano boost more powerful, increasing the health restore to the target, making a percentage of max health rather than a flat amount, so it might be a bit worse for squishy targets, but you know, it'll do a lot for a tank character. And then the next upgrade, it's a godsend for any Anna player. It will let Anna nano herself, which anyone can appreciate, I'm sure. And then lastly, it will just improve nano boost, make it heal more, make it let the target take less damage, and also the target will deal more damage. Now for the ultimate upgrade, you saw it at the previous slide, it will let you nano your entire team at the same time, and if you're taking the bottom split path, it will also nano yourself. Now this is for PvE, so you might think it's overpowered, but we've seen that the team size in every other mission has been 4. I'd like to see varying team size to change how impactful this upgrade will be, but I think in PvE there won't be any of that negative feeling from somebody who takes it, so I don't think this will be a problem. Let's move on to our next character. Guess who it is? I thought about calling all of the trees arts for all of the characters, and it does kind of work for Ryan, but it feels a lot like fantasy going between characters. So I might end up changing these back to Crusader and Guardian, like in the blizzconline stream. Here is the whole Ryan tree. I'm going to go into detail. 3, 2, 1. All right, so swinging your hammer, primary ability. Can't take that away from Reinhardt. Seems pretty instrumental. You might see I'm also looking at Ryan's Earth Shatter behind an upgrade, just like I did with Nano Boost. You might think it's a core part of his kit, but I think Ryan can work without that particular Q ability. And I've come up with alternative ultimates for the other paths that you'll at least consider. Ryan's also pretty simple, so the other upgrades moving down, so this bigger hurt box and swinging faster, it just seems proper for Reinhardt. Here are the split paths. You see here they've been given titles. That's only because these were one of the first trees that I made, and I was being a bit ambitious. You'll also see some of my notes in red. That's just me thinking about balance, but you can ignore those if you really want. The top path emphasizes swinging the hammer more. I thought that Ryan might actually have the model of his hammer shift towards Baldric from the cinematic, with some spikes as you make your way down it. The hammer starts by dealing more damage, then being able to execute combos by holding buttons, and ideally, the timing windows for these would be quite generous because Ryan doesn't swing his hammer that fast. It ends with momentum building and allowing even more damage to be done the longer you hold mouse 1. For the bottom path, or Scorched Earth, it improves Earth Shatter. Because Earth Shatter is an ultimate, I thought it might also include a hidden multiplier to the ult charge rate, so you might actually get some uses of the ability, otherwise you're just never going to charge it enough. It starts simple with a longer knockdown, then a take on Doomfist's Meteor Strike. It doesn't take Ryan out of the fight or give him a reticle to pound down, but if you activate Shatter and fall down from high ground, it becomes more effective. This way, I hope to encourage more team play, like with Petal Platform, Maywall, and other abilities. Finally comes an actual 360 Shatter that's so violent it leaves the ground burning, dealing damage over time like Molten Core, but to a lesser extent. And here's his ultimate ability. For the ultimate upgrade, I thought we could do some fan service and callbacks to Baldric, who was such a cool character in the cinematic when Ryan gave up his hammer to protect his teammates. If you can't read my writing, I'm going to read it out now. Use the scroll wheel. Switch weapons to swap your shield for a second hammer, changing your attack combos. This is a form change like Primal Rage and lasts 10 seconds, during which you will not be able to shield but can use both hammers independently. Due to the thrusters on your back, I thought about also increasing your movement speed for the duration. A 30-second cooldown begins once you revert back to having your shield. Again, all these numbers, you could change them if you want. Not my place. Right, the poster child. Tracer was kind of hard to come up with 3 different trees for, but I'm pretty pleased with what ended up coming out. I'm most excited to share about the pistols and melee tree. I think that's really cool, but I know you're probably dying to see the blinks and recall tree. So that's what I'm going to do. Here's the whole tree. You probably see what's coming up. Right, a bit controversial, but Tracer has always been a super powerful character in the game, and while she'll be even more powerful by completing these trees, I had to nerf the way she starts to make that sort of good progression feeling. In my head, and what I'd expect if you've got a campaign to play through, is Tracer is one of the first characters you acquire. I think it would be cool if you start at a point where Tracer doesn't have her temporal flux completely under control yet, or she doesn't have the right chess piece / gets different ones as you choose new upgrades on the different paths that allow you to do different things. So she starts with just 1 blink. I also put recall behind a wall because I think it's very strong, but not essential when it comes to PvE fights. I was debating whether or not to have the upgrade after recall also restore armor, shields, and temporary health. But you can change it if you want. And then the final upgrade before they split is getting your 3 blinks. Charge them up. Right, the paths here are split into blink and recall. I thought the blink path could be a bit electric. You could justify it in the story by having Winston tinker with her chess piece. Having electricity stunning enemies, I think, lets Tracer take on a new role where she controls the fight in a different way than just going for kills. First upgrade leaves a short-lasting trail behind Tracer, which deals damage and stuns enemies caught in it or who want to walk into it. Next, I was kind of always disappointed that Tracer never uses her power to slam into enemies. Think of the impact she could have. So that's what I did. When she blinks, instead of passing through enemies, she'll impact, and that will let her stun the enemy and with a small electric explosion. The last upgrade in the path is similar to the first, but the electricity is more powerful and it will spread outwards, so like a wave, and then it will dissipate over time. The bottom path improves your recall, gives it even more utility, even more than it already had. Beginning with giving tracers some overhealth and a speed bonus for a short time after recalling. The next upgrade at the middle, at the bottom, is assuming that the team size is going to be 4, as that's what we've seen in the other PvE missions, but it could work with less teammates, and I don't know what you'd do if there were more. So what would happen, you'd hold the direction, and then you'd press your recall button, and then whichever teammate corresponds to the direction you're holding, you'd be pulled to them instead of where you were 3 seconds ago. Now, the final upgrade of the bottom path, it will give that temporary buff to your teammate, the one you teleport to, if you target them. Here's your ultimate upgrade. Now, this one's a bit crazy. When you press Q, instead of throwing out a pulse bomb, this will replace your ultimate. The location you start with becomes a waypoint for your recall if you exceed the amount of time for it. So you can recall as much as you like, but you can also blink as much as you like. And you can blink to your teammates. If you chose the recall path, your teammate will have a longer time with that buff. But to balance it, I'm going to say that the boost for damage or overhealth and speed will only apply to Tracer and the most recent teammate she recalled to. So that was 3 different heroes and 1 upgrade tree for each of them. I've got more trees to make videos for, and it's just up to anyone who watches if they'd rather have a different video for each hero or me to bundle them together to have 3 or 4 heroes in the same video. It'd be a bit longer, take longer for me to get them out, but it's whatever the people want. At the moment, I've got 5 heroes with 3 trees each, all planned out, and in the meantime, I'm going to be thinking of some more. I've got plans for the other heroes, at least the Overwatch 1 heroes, and then a couple of Overwatch 2 ones. But if you are so inspired, here's a blank tree if you want to make one. I'm going to slow down a bit. I'm getting pretty tired. So if you feel like this video is interesting, you want to see me make some more, I've always wanted to do this. You ready? Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell button, and good night. I'm going to go play Animal Wealth on my Steam Deck.